a difficult childhood, so to speak, didn't you? Would you like to talk to us about it?
We were called names by calling us Chinese. People from our community, when we used to go to the mosque and pray, we were being harassed. My schooling has not been any great. Right from the teachers to the students, nothing has been a great support to me.
What was your university life like? Was that any better?
I was terrified with the train to get into the train initially. That how do I go into the train? How to buy a ticket?
Yes.
How to pay for the tickets?
Hussain, did you ever notice your dad getting mean comments or discriminatory behavior?
My father was called, "Hey Chinese, come here. Hey China, 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 China." If you ask me 15 years ago or maybe 10 years ago, I'm a totally different person from then and now.
Did you ever blame your parents, especially your father, for some of the things you had to go through whilst you were growing up?
We had to pretend to be Hindus from being a Muslim.
Hussein, welcome. And thank you so much for being here today and wanting to share your story on this platform. How are you doing?
First and foremost, thank you very much, and thank you, Tisha, for inviting me. And it has been a privilege and honor to be on a podcast for the very first time. And not that I've not done a podcast before, but I think this is the one which I wanted to do it forever.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And answered your questions. I'm very well. Thank you.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
So, Hussein, how would you introduce yourself to people who don't know you?
That's an interesting one. So, I was born in a multicultural family. So my father was Burmese, and mother is Indian. So I'm a cocktail of two cultures coming together, and born and raised in a multifaceted, multilingual, multicultural, multi-cuisine family, and raised in a way that, to be more adaptable. Got my education completed, did my couple of degrees, and I pursued my degree in law, specializing in crime against women and children and medicine.
Wow.
And a banker for close to around nearly 21 years. Worked with the major Wall Street banks across the globe. And now in England, I'm part of the governance process, which is one of the housing provider, and I work very closely with the regulatory of social housing. Personally, I am married. My wife is Sri Lankan American.
So, did you grow up in India then? Did you have your schooling and education was back in India?
Yes, so I grew up in India. I did my schooling and education back in India. I did my the preliminary education also in Bombay. I did my higher secondary and also my university degrees
in Mumbai.
But when it came to the master and the specialized qualification as such, so I have been moving around to different parts of the world. So through my banking support system, I got an opportunity to do some of the professional degrees, which is certified by some of the university in the United States as well.
Yeah. So, when you were growing up in India,
Yeah.
I think obviously before we started recording, we've discussed a little bit about your life.
Yeah.
And you've had a difficult childhood, so to speak, didn't you? Would you like to talk to us about it?
Well, I think so this is some trivia to go back first, okay? Let me just explain to you where my family hails from. So
Yeah.
it gives you a little bit of connection that what sort of difficulties we have faced as a family,
Yes.
not particularly as an individual. So my family hails from Burma, as I said. We migrated during the time of the regime that took over the country back in 1972-74 period. The country was nationalized, and people were forced to leave the country or stay in the country and be part of that dictator regime. And that's why you keep hearing me saying that I call Burma, but it's called Union of Myanmar now. The name has been changed in 1989, but we as the Burmese descendant, we still call the country as Burma. Okay, so my family had to leave the country for the better prospects. They were the British subject citizens, so they had the opportunity to move around different parts of the world. That time, So Mrs. Indira Gandhi was then the Prime Minister, okay, and then they suggested to bring the refugees, but were given asylum into the country. So my father came in first, and eventually my father's brother and sister, everybody followed after a couple of years. My father landed in Madras, came to Bombay, met with my mother, just to fast forward it, okay, and they got married. And so we had a very, very difficult period, that right when my father's family landed in India. The first reason is basically they didn't know the local language, Hindi. Yeah.
Hindi or Marathi as well, isn't it, in Mumbai?
Yes, the Marathi is the
Yeah.
one of the so the secondary
Yeah.
language back in Bombay. But those days, because it was more of that 70s period was the Bombay was very much just came out of the kind of independence era and still in the verge of developing, and you could see lots of people from Parsi community and etc. They were very affluent and all. We were growing up with them, but still you face discrimination. First thing, language. Second thing is the way you look. Yeah. So the Burmese people, they don't look like Indians per se. Okay, I don't look like Burmese. I have very Indian feature, but my father family did not have that one. So they looked very, 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 very Southeast Asian. We were called names by calling us Chinese because it is very generalizing. Putting everybody in one box. People who has a kind of yellow skin, flat nose, small eyes are Chinese, which is not true. There are subcontinent is much bigger and wider, and they all look different. So we've been called like that. We've been pushed around about in our own community that people from our community, when we used to go to the mosque and pray, we were being harassed. That oh, you guys must be eating cockroaches or maybe snakes and scorpions and all sort of things. Now, firstly, we do not understand your language. We speak only bits and pieces of your language. Second thing, you try and humiliate us by putting all those statements. Then the whole family got cut off from the community as well. Okay, decided that we aren't going to be, we will be practicing Muslims, but we would rather do it our own way and not do it the otherwise. And when I was born, my father felt that I might face the same discrimination what he had to go through. So I was very protected as a child, very much, and I was given everything, whatever I needed, in my own home. I was not allowed to go out and play with other kids, okay, because of the fear of getting harassed. That's what my father and my mom thought. Yeah, and obviously they have full rights that time when I was young. Yeah,
I mean, they were doing what they thought was the best thing to do.
Yeah. Isn't it? And I was not allowed to go. Whatever I was being given, everything this was my room, this is my area, or this is my world. Yeah, my toys, my books, and everything is within this four walls. And if I have to go out, I have to be reliant on my parents to take me out and just go around, etc. And that's how it continued. And when I went to school, my school life was not easy. It was very difficult for me. Okay, I was harassed in the school. Okay, then eventually it moved down, because once you come to a certain age in our community, we are supposed to go to the parallel school, which is called as madrasas. Okay, where you learn the Quran and you learn to recite and to pray and etc. I was harassed there in madrasas. School was absolutely horror for my entire till 10th grade. Okay, I was bullied, I was being kicked and punched and did everything because of the kind of person I was, because I was not exposed to outside world for the maximum period of my life. When I went to my school, my dad used to come and pick me and drop me to the school until I reached age of 15. So I come out of the school, my dad is standing like as a pillar. Somebody is there to protect me and take me home. And when he used to come and drop me, he used to do that. So everything was so much protected. And when you hit the outside world, it's terrible.
All this protection that you had at home, how had that influenced you in how you interacted with kids at school?
Well, my school life, as I said, I have been, as I was a protected child. The students were not kind towards me. because because they were quite smart. They were street smarts because they were playing outside. They could do this sport, that sport. Uh, they must be traveling a lot with their parents. Okay, and we were not that travel enthusiast or moving around a lot, etc. So they had so many stories to share and talk about. And I'm the one who is like, who is only studious, studying, sitting in a corner, not being a fancy kind of a kid in school. So I was being left out any which ways. My teachers did not bother me a lot. Okay, they did not tap on to my expertise and my skills, etc. Because they put me also in the box with others and just discriminated me out because I am of no use. I'm a useless kid in the school. So my schooling has not been any great, right from the teachers to the students. Nothing has been a great support to me. Yeah.
Are you friends with anybody from that time at
No.
all? Nobody.
No.
So once you left school, there was a clean cut.
A clean cut. Tisha, I decided that, so after I finished my schooling, I would want to take an admission into the college to go to university, which is maybe 100 miles away from the school. So not even a one student from my class would even dare to come to that far to do the university education. And exactly that's what I did.
What was your university life like? Was that any better?
So I did what I had to do to move away from the crowd. But I didn't realize there is a one more bigger issue is waiting for me. And that issue is that because I went to one of the college which is affluent, or the kids of all rich and riches would come there. Okay, and I wasn't. Yeah, and I would travel by train, and everybody used to come in their cars and
Posh cars.
and parents would drop them or
Yeah,
did them
or
some
drivers.
drive.
Yeah.
Driving. I'm talking to 26 years ago. Was a big deal.
Yeah.
Those time even having the cell phone was a
Yes.
big deal.
Yes.
Okay, I didn't even have the cell phone. I used to get a very limited pocket money of 100 rupees a week. Okay, I don't know how much you would convert into sterling. So £1.
£1, yeah.
£1 a week.
Yeah.
Now they spend possibly like a £5-10 those days. So that was the biggest challenge. I was being cut off there. So there the students did not wanted to talk to me because I was not fitting into that category. Okay.
Yeah.
So then the another sort of discrimination started in the university and the college. Then I decided that I made a choice of coming to this college. The purpose of me is to get a degree with the good marks. So I focused only on studying. Okay, and that's how I passed my 5 years of university. Okay, studying and being part of some of the social events wherever I could, just to upscale myself and develop. But the things changed more during my last year. The people who were in my class, they kind of realized that this boy has been very studious. This guy has all the notes. So why don't we make friends with him? Yeah. And then just take him out and maybe take him for a coffee or whatever. We go out, we take him along with us, and we'll pay for it. In that 5 years, I have grown tremendously. Okay, because I could live my life, I could speak well, I could dress what I want to wear. Yeah, I could travel in the rush hours in a train, pushing in a crowd. The local trains of Bombay, right? If you manage to put one foot in, it means it's empty.
Yes.
Forget about your whole body goes inside.
Yes.
Right? So that made me physically, mentally strong. But remember one thing, my father was not okay with that.
Okay.
Just imagine a boy who's been picked and dropped at a school which is just a few kilometers away from the house. Dad comes and picks me up and drops, and he allows somebody to go and travel like more than 40 kilometers away from home, which is not acceptable. But my father's family pushed him, saying that enough of this protection. He has to go out and do it and let him live. I was terrified with the train, to get into the train initially. That how do I go into the train? How to buy a ticket? How to pay for the tickets? It was completely alien world for me living in Bombay. But see, I've developed, I've evolved, and it was amazing years of my 5 years, though it was discriminating, but I developed on those 5 years.
Hussein, did you ever notice your dad getting mean comments or discriminatory behavior towards him? Have you ever witnessed anything with your dad? Purely because he looked so different to you as well, didn't he?
Yeah. Yes, I did. So my father was called, "Hey Chinese, come here. Hey China, 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 China." And my other cousin were called, "Oh, you Nepali. Nepali, come here. Nepali, Nepali. Chinese, Nepali, Chinese, Nepali." And you know what, if they ask that, "Oh, I spoke to Muhammad." Then people ask, "Who Muhammad did you speak with?" "Oh, the Chinese Muhammad." So my father was named Muhammad. So they say, "Oh, the Chinese Muhammad." So I've been listening to this, to those derogatory comments to my father, to my cousins, my uncles, my aunt, etc. And my aunt got so traumatized. Okay, she was such a, oh my God, one of the most beautiful lady, okay, I have ever seen in my life. Okay, she was so beautiful. She died at the age of 25.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, because of this torture, trauma, and she got mental. She developed the mental issues. She had a fear. Oh, what if I go out? Somebody will say something to me. I don't want to go out. She locked herself in the room. She locked herself, continued to remain in the room, and she became very different person. She started to consume sugar, like half a kg of sugar at one time,
Oh my
scooping down, without realizing what she's doing. And then eventually she had a stroke and she passed away. So Tisha, it's not just the comments, derogatory comments towards my father. It's about the family, and if people have lost lives because of their behavior. Yeah, and the comments. So comments are really, really, really. We should be very, very sensitive to what we speak.
I agree.
I also sometimes don't think twice when I speak. So I don't think too much at times about how other person would feel. So what I speak, but I've been sensitive enough not to say something really, really bad or harsh, because our tongue is a very slippery piece of flesh, and it just slips.
Yeah. And the impact it can have on somebody else, it can be huge.
And that's what we have faced. Yeah.
So, obviously, you've witnessed derogatory comments towards your family, your father, your sister. How did that make you feel?
Well, first and foremost, very bluntly, it doesn't feel any great.
Yeah.
It is nothing to feel good about it. Because I would never make such comments about anybody. Okay. I felt like, what if I have my own children? I've been feeling constantly in that fear and trauma, and also I've been in a trauma for all through my life that, if somebody says something behind my back, and people have been talking about me when I was working in big organizations also. So it has been a continuous problem, and I have never ever felt safe. Never. Even you ask me in this moment, okay, am I feeling fully safe? No, because somewhere it has been constantly running in my mind that who is going to say something about me. Not that people would say it, but that piece of the small little thing has so much deeply ingrained in me, Tisha, that is not going out.
Yeah. So do you find yourself always being hyper vigilant and aware of everybody's expressions and micro changes in their tone of their voice, maybe, or the words they're using?
Oh yeah, totally. I am constantly observing body languages. So even if I'm talking to you or maybe to someone else, I'm constantly looking at your body language. That is there something negative coming out of it, or is it going to hurt me in any way? Because sometimes your comments don't hurt you, and your body language do.
Yes.
Your eye contacts may say something else. It's not that I want to do that, but it's been constantly ticking in my brain.
How did your upbringing or the experiences you had as a child shape you as a human being? I mean, what personality traits did you develop to protect yourself?
So what you see as an outer shield, this is different, Hussein. So then inside. So I have I've changed a lot. I have become more headstrong, and also I've become less emotional, because for everything, smallest of the thing, I used to cry, because first and foremost I was not exposed to things around me, and for me everything was alien. So I used to just burst out crying. I was very emotionally drained, always thinking, crying, and whatever. But now I've become very headstrong. I also sometimes I feel that if I say something, if person doesn't like it, I don't care. Yeah. Earlier I used to think, oh no, I should not say this. So what if the person stops talking to me? What if the person says some bad things about me? What if the person will go and say something to someone else, and then someone else will come and say something about me? Nothing is actually happening.
Yeah.
It is just
In your own head.
in my mind. Okay. And that has made me a very headstrong. And eventually I decided to do my solicitor degree. Okay. I'm a qualified lawyer specialized in crime against women and children. So I did my forensic studies. So that actually, made you go through some of the weirdest and wildest cases in the criminal history, and that gives you more power to push yourself in that direction, that that you are not weak, and you can actually, you've seen it, you've learned it.
Yes.
And you can actually do it. So in fact, what, I've evolved a lot, Tisha. So what I was, if you ask me 15 years ago or maybe 10 years ago, I'm a totally different person from then and now. So forget about my childhood has been absolutely naive, no exposure to outside world.
Did you ever blame your parents, and especially your father, for some of the things you had to go through whilst you were growing up?
Well, my dad is not around, so it wouldn't be appropriate for me to say anything. But so I wouldn't blame them, because they have seen the bad things happening to them. They were just trying to be protective. But
I think, is this your rational mind talking now? Or is that how you actually thought back then as well?
well, now it's so basically back then, because I used to come from school and I used to feel that why didn't you allow me to do that when these guys could do it? Why are you not sending me to the picnics? Because for 10 years I was not being allowed to go on a school picnic as well, because every kid used to go and I was not being allowed, because I was by myself. So so I used to have the mental kind of battle with myself, and I used to come and spit out and say it and vomit it out to my parents, saying that why are you protecting me so much, and this and that. And kind of eventually, when I grew up, I started to have a little bit of so what do you call, the blaming thing started. Just because you did not allow me to do that, look at me. I am not as smart as the other kids are. Look at them. They have gone far ahead in their life and career, and I'm still crawling and scratching and going through. But when I sit now and reflect it, that was a journey. Okay. So if I wouldn't have been, maybe if I would have been let out with the other kids, I would have not been so well educated. I wouldn't have taken so many degrees to my belt. Not even I would have been able to work in one of the best organizations in the world. Yeah. And forget about that. The more important is the values. Okay. My parents taught me the values when I was sitting with them, eating with them 4 times a day: breakfast, lunch, dinner, brunch, whatever you call, everything with the family. So all these values today, when we talk about, where people, everybody's on phone, on a mobile, nobody wants to sit with the parents, nobody wants to talk to them, and we complain about it. And I had that privilege. So why should I complain about that? Okay, it's just because they've been protected towards me. Well, yes, I had a complaint that time because I was not mature enough to understand. But now I do understand it. And I think it was the most best and cherished moments, which people or children of today don't have that.
Yeah. So, all of this would have obviously affected your confidence a lot. Isn't it? But you have done incredibly well in your life. You come across as a very confident person to me. And you've achieved a lot in your professional life as well. So how have you built that confidence? Have you consciously worked at it? Or did it just come with each passing phase of your life?
Yeah. So So, well, Tisha, this is a combination of it. Okay, so let me take a step back and share some of the incidents which have happened in my life. So, my childhood, as I said everything about my childhood, while I was growing up, there were riots in Bombay.
Yeah.
1992-93, in December 92 until Jan 93. Around 900 or thousands of people have been killed during that riots.
Yeah.
Very traumatizing. My house was burned to charred. My parents had to pick me up, and my brother is 8 years younger to me, by the way. So we had to lift both of us up. We had to flee for our lives. Otherwise we would have been killed by the mobs. Okay. And it was a very difficult period. So one thing is, of course, my protected childhood. I was very weak in speaking because my life was my parents, my little brother, and this four walls and my toys and my books. There was no communication, verbal communication, except for the school. In school, there was only torture, humiliation. Teachers didn't support. I developed a stammering problem, and then the stammering got little more aggravated when it happened those riots period, when we had to run for our life. We took shelter at my grandmother's place, which was more a protected community area where we could live in, but it was a grandmother's place and you can't live there forever. Yeah, it was my mom's side's family. Yeah, so we had to eventually come back to our home after a few months, which was completely shattered, damaged, burned. Not even a single piece of my own childhood memories was left there. Okay, my father built everything from scratch, and my mother, okay, had to pretend to be Hindu. Okay, because she had to wear tika on her forehead. Nothing against any religion. Okay, I'm not speaking about it. Just that, we had to be for survival mode. We had to pretend to be Hindus from being a Muslim, and we lived like that. And we were being given stares and glaring by other people around us. Why the hell they have come back? What is left? But that time everything got a little settled down. Government was giving the protection, police protection, and etc. everything, and we could build our house. But that fear was there, and the fear continued to be there for many years to come, Tisha, because since that riots happened, I couldn't buy a house in Bombay because I'm Muslim. Nobody wants to sell a house to me. Then I forget about my credentials. People didn't even look at it. That I'm a lawyer, I'm a solicitor, I'm part of bar council, I'm so well educated, well traveled. Nothing. Just because you're Muslims, we don't want to sell a house to you. So what we had to do is we just survive in that whole vicinity where we didn't want to live forever. We had to live there. Yeah, and that shattered my confidence time and again, and I became very, very low. School life hasn't been great. In college I had those problems.
Of course.
Then this riots and living in the society where we have not been accepted as who we are as Muslims, or maybe forget about Muslims, just accept us as a human beings, like a fellow human. We were not being accepted, so everything just killed me internally. My confidence was low. My stammering became too much. Even to formulate a sentence, it was so difficult.
Did you find your brother having a similar kind of reaction to life, or did you think he handled it better?
It's sometimes, so when a second child usually born smart. They're born street smart. And with a gap of 8 years, so whatever the baggage I had to go through, so my parents did not wanted to have that sort of probably kind of suffering towards my brother.
Yeah.
But my brother has always been street smart. He used to get things done through his own way. And he was never so studious. Okay. And he said, okay, I will pass. Don't worry about me. So my brother never had that sort of impact. But yes, he also has seen a very rough childhood. So not to undermine. He was 1989 born. And 1992 the riots happened. So just imagine quite young.
Yeah.
So mom used to pick him up and flee. All these images, when you're very young, it kind of remain in your brain. It's just that you don't want to talk about. It doesn't mean that it doesn't. It's not there.
Yeah.
Though we never spoke so much in detail about this because I didn't want it to bring those those bad memories with him. But he has gone through a lot in a way. But he has been street smart.
Yeah.
Okay, so now he is doing pretty well in his life, very well settled, and I'm very, very proud of him.
We were coming back to confidence then. So how did you go from this boy who was stammering, zero street smartness, only being buried in his books? How did you become so confident?
Oh, I'll take this as a compliment then.
You are because that's how you come across to me. But also you navigated the Mumbai local train.
Oh yes, I did.
And then you've done so well in terms of in your profession as well, and you've traveled all over the world. You've worked with really big companies. You have to have confidence to be able to reach places. Otherwise, you wouldn't be where you are today.
Yeah.
So how did that happen?
So this eventually started in my college days. When I told you I was buried in my studies, but I was developing myself. That time stammering was there. Okay, but I had my space there, so I could choose to speak, choose not to speak when I require to. In school, you are very much, there's a flat structure. There is an exam, there is a verbal exam, the written exam, you have to do it. In college, you have a choice that what you want to do and what you don't want to do it. Then I practiced a lot. Atisha, it is not an easy thing. Stammering is not an easy thing to go away. I used to practice in front of mirror a lot. I used to watch ridiculous amount of English movies with subtitles. And I used to read out those subtitles. Not watching the movie, what's happening in the movie. I'm not interested. I'm reading out the subtitles and picking up on some of the words and then translating them in my daily dialogues. And that also was a challenge because I need to find out the people who could understand those level of conversation. Yeah. Remember one thing, my father's family were very well educated. We were well spoken people, so particular. So I have learned through experiences, through real-time examples, and also doing lots of self-learning. I have watched and learned about table manners, the etiquette, the sitting on a table, etc. So this was a journey, Tisha. It started during my college. It continued through my professional life as well for 20 years. And today what you see, I do stammer today. You must have observed it during our podcast somewhere or the other where I have been stammering on some of the words in a sentence.
Not noticeable. So where did life take you after your university finished? What were your next few years like in the professional world?
So I started to give interviews, get on a job first. I got rejected first time from JP. I prepared myself after 3 months. I went for an interview. I got hired. In a week's time, I was being asked to come to London. So from there, the journey started of my corporate culture. I grew in the organization. Then again in 2003, I came to England, and 7 and 8 again I was in England. I was managing large-scale projects. Then so that gradually continued. But while I was doing my work in professional, I was also studying. I took a couple of other degrees. Okay. Then so our personal life was coming back in shape. We were still living in the same house where we were living, where my house was burned to char, etc.
So then what happened?
To be honest, nothing legally went wrong, except for the fact that I became the member of Bar Council, and so I could practice in Supreme Court and also in the High Courts in across Bombay and Goa state.
Okay.
I could sit and listen to some of the cases. I could see to that, how do I present myself if something goes wrong legally with me, and then how do I do that?
So Hussein, tell me, going through whatever you did in your life, and confidence being low as well, why was giving up not an option? Why did you always want to achieve something in your life?
First and foremost, I wouldn't ever give up because I'm a Leo. I'm quite strong. I want to fight till it reaches to a level where I can't get through, then I just let it go. But I didn't want to give up. Second thing is, I had responsibilities at home. My father, my mother, my brother. My brother was growing up. My father had a business, it got shut down years ago after that riots happened, that his shop was also burned. And was the only person who could start working. So my brother's education, my mom's medical, and everything was dependent. So there was no room for me to give up and do what to create more stress for myself and for my family. I was quite happy, though there was so much of torture drama was going on. I was kind of sucking it up. Then one point it came to Tisha. So at work as well, I used to feel that well, I'm getting paid to get bullied, so I don't care. You bully me, you say some nasty things about me, I don't care. At the end of the day, the paycheck is coming in to my bank account. That is so I'm able to sustain my family back home.
So did having a difficult boss, or maybe a few difficult bosses, how did that impact you?
Well, you don't choose your boss. I have had extremely difficult bosses, extremely difficult people to work with. Remember one thing, Tisha, that I grew up in the surrounding, and I kind of developed myself as a very, very well-spoken person. So when I joined my professional career, right, so I had people in my team who felt insecure with the way I speak, the way I dress. I was always been very well dressed person. I used to wear tie and blazers at work, which hardly anybody, if you go back into India or any of the corporate sector, you will not see people are so well, because we culturally not we like to dress but very modestly. So I was being called a child of a monarch, or maybe somebody who is not an Indian. And I was being discriminated by my bosses. I was discriminated by my colleagues. My colleagues used to make fun of my dress. They used to harass me. And I first and foremost, Tisha, I never used to smoke. I don't smoke. I don't drink alcohol. So I don't fit into that clan of smoking and drinking. So when after work, they used to sit back after 12, 13 hours of working they do in India, and then after that they go for smoke breaks. In between they go for drinks after work and all. That's not me. Okay, so I could never fit myself in that clan of the managers and the colleagues and the other superiors. So I was being left out. My promotion was striked off. Okay, I was being called names. I was not being given credits of whatever I was doing at work, because I was good at work. Please recognize me, what I'm doing at work, and not about how I socialize with you. And that time I was sucking it up. Everybody was teasing me. Everybody was having problems with me. I sucked it up and I moved on. So professionally, there was nothing great I could talk about. It's just that there was a discrimination. And today, if anybody's hearing this podcast, and I'm quite open and blunt to talk about it, because it's been my history and has affected me personally. Right from the senior management to the employees, the culture was itself is so toxic. And you know what? I had a miserable weeks and months when I was in England, because I traveled with these bunch of people. And the behavior and the attitude continued to remain the same when they were here. They wanted to go out for the parties every night, and drinking and smoking and do every possible things which they would actually do back in India, but they would do it more here because they were away from their families. Most of them were married, and they couldn't do some things back home because they wanted to do here. And I couldn't fit into any of the categories, so I was a left out person. Promotions were denied, but it took me long to get promotions, because I was getting promotion to fight for the promotion and get on my credits.
What do you mean? Sorry.
Say for example, if you do your performance appraisal every year. Yeah. So I was in Exceed. So there are certain criteria. So there's a needs improvement, which is at the bottom of the curve. You have a 20, 70, 10, the bell curve. Yes. You know it, right? Yes. So 10% falls into the category of the needs improvement. 20% falls into the exceed expectation. 70% are the mediocres. Correct. So I was always in the 20% bracket. Now, when you're in a 20% bracket, okay, natural progression has to happen, because you have done exceedingly well in your current role. Correct. So you either move vertically upwards or / you move laterally.
Correct.
So so you expand your knowledge horizon. So I was been denied the lateral mobility plus the vertical mobility. Now I was getting stuck. Now the people who were getting the mobility laterally or vertically were the ones who were part of the clan. Number one is the clan. Second thing was a favoritism towards a particular community and caste. Very evidently seen. And even though the performance of that person has been absolutely mediocre in 70% bracket, the people getting promoted in 70% bracket and I wasn't getting. So now eventually what I had to do, I had to fight. I had to speak up. That what is more left for me to learn. Okay. So you guys are not giving me an opportunity. Opportunity is there, but it's been given to the people who you think you like the most, who put in the clan, and I'm not getting it. So how I got promotions? I never got promotions in my own department. I used to apply outside my department, who nobody knew me. I used to go for interviews, go through the entire process of interviewing. I used to take promotions and go in that department.
Got it.
Then again take a promotion, go to another department. So I used to take the different route.
What has different stages of your life taught you? So what are the biggest lessons you've had in your life from your childhood, being in university, and then obviously in your working life as well?
The biggest lesson I've learned, Tisha, that the first and foremost, I was very naive and I used to trust people a lot without doing a factual analysis of fact findings. Blind trust. So if you would have told me this is not the water, this is vodka, so I would believe you 20 years ago or 15 years ago, and I would believe you without smelling or tasting it or doing my own investigation. Trust is the fact that the trust is the only thing which I have developed. So I don't trust things quite easily because I do my own fact findings. Okay?
There's no blind trust now.
There's no blind trust now. Okay.
Yeah.
I have also started to speak up a lot. Yeah. I have suppressed my feelings, my experiences, my thoughts, etc. within me. And there is so much to share more beyond this podcast, Tisha. Because of the limited time, we could only do so much. But there are so many things, elements which I started to speak up now. And now I don't fear of calling up the names, because always been a problem that what if I name this person or name this organization and my career will be shattered. Yeah. When I'm sitting on a podcast, this podcast might go live, and if tomorrow if I want to take a job in the company, people will not hire me possibly because I would have named their organizations. But I have to do that now because I have nothing to lose at this moment, because I've gone through that time. They would also say that why didn't I speak up that time? Yes, I couldn't speak because I had my kind of fear element.
What are some of those values that are very close to you that keep you ticking?
So one of the value which I have always learned through my childhood and even today is about being caring. I'm a caregiver. I take care of people, whosoever has been close to me. I take care of them. But I'm at the same time I've become blunt because I speak up what I feel inside. I cannot become too manipulative. But also I've also learned I've become very diplomatic now. Okay, because I work in a governance role. Okay, and when you're sitting with the board of directors and you are the governance person, and you have an executive committee like CEOs and CFOs and your board, and I'm in middle. So my role is to become more diplomatic role. So I have to be very, very sensitive.
What if somebody was to say, and somebody who's known you for a very long time, they say that you were so trusting and you were a kind of person at this end of the spectrum, and now you are the opposite. There's no middle here. So from being very soft and trusting, you've now become very hard and very non-trusting. What would you say to that?
My wife says this thing to me. She says to me that, why are you so emotionless? Show some emotion. You do lots to take care of it, but you are no longer filled with emotions.
Do you mean you don't express your emotions at all?
I don't. I'm very, very. I become very flat. Very. So I'm not. I used to express a lot in my emotions, in my body language, etc. But I think those circumstances in my life, professionally or personally, has made me like a rock solid person. I no longer think from my heart. Okay, so the moment you think from the heart, and it tickles your brain, and the emotion comes out, you know. But I'm now more of thinking from my head. I have gone through enough personally, so my emotions has been somewhere down the line is gone really really low.
So, would you like to be able to strike a balance?
Well, I would love to be honest. I would love to strike a balance because, yeah, as I say, being a diplomatic person at work, I am very good at, showing that sort of, the middle ground and talking with people some nicely and politically correct and sometimes very blunt and getting my things done, etc. So then why I can't do it in the same way back home as well? Just to show some sort of reflection about how I feel. Sometimes you have to compliment people because I love to receive compliments. Yeah, but I don't give compliments.
What is left for you to achieve? What is it that you want to do next?
Oh gosh, I'm a very unsatisfied person. I've done professionally very well in my career. Now next phase of my life is to at least settle down in my life, have a proper family, then travel to the countries which I have not traveled so far, some of the missed ones, and I think that's the more of a short-term goal I have. I'm sure my goal post is going to shift.
Of course.
Okay, so once I reach or nearing to that, I'm going to change again. Okay, no, I'm leaving UK and I'm settling down in Denmark.
Yeah.
Let's go.
So, Hussain, your life, what are you most thankful for? What is it that one thing you say, actually, I'm very lucky because I have this or I've experienced this?
Yeah. First and foremost, I'm thankful that, the God has given me a physical strength. Second thing, I'm thankful to my parents, okay, who had difficult phase of their own life dealing with the challenges of being discriminated in a society, but still managed to bring me up in a surrounding which was safe, which was not being manipulative, taught me good things, good mannerisms, good values, respect for elders, and most important, how to care about people. So these are the moments I cherish, and these are the values I carry forward to my work as well, because the work is just a reflection of you. People try to behave artificial at work just to fit into that category. The moment you bring in your own values at work, it reflects onto your work, and people will accept you. People will take you the way you are. And also, I have been grateful to have worked in good organizations, having many setbacks as well, but also fortunate enough to get good money, okay, where I could take a bold decision of quitting my job and sitting at home and doing nothing for 2 years. It was mentally daunting for initial 6 months because your big paycheck stops coming into your account.
Yeah.
It's not easy, Tisha.
Yeah.
I'm thankful that I took that decision. I came to England. I took up the course. The moment I landed in England, I got immediately in the first month itself, while I was doing my course, I got an offer from the organization. I have got a work throughout when I was studying as well. I was also being appointed by the Electoral Commission of UK to become electoral observer for the parliamentary and local elections. I'm also being a poll officer for the elections happens in the country. I am also been associated with the Chamber of Commerce. I'm also been invited as a panelist to talk about my journey. So Women's Day, I've been invited by the panel to talk about how I have supported the women in leadership during my career to develop them. I have been fortunate to be part of the business resource councils for the diversity group across different organizations. So at Barclays Bank, I was part of the cultural awareness network, because people from how to live, work, and behave with people of certain culture and certain nationalities. And also I was the leader of the diversity council in the bank called Northern Trust. So and those experiences I could bring in to the UK, and because of that I have been called upon, invited upon to share my experience and talk about it. So yes, so I think there are multiple things where so apart from all the not so pleasant things have happened, there are also good things have happened, which I'm really grateful, really thankful.
Are you proud of yourself and where you have landed in life?
Oh yeah, I am. Well, I'm proud of the fact that I made a very bold decision of quitting the a well-paid, well-settled job, leaving everything behind, coming and living in England in a small little shared accommodation with others people in the house, and navigating through various odds.
Is there anything in you that you want to change in yourself?
Um uh, m- Maybe you know what, I'm not able to make sometimes good decisions. I'm always consulting, I'm always making a consultative decision making rather than a more independent decision making. Okay, i want to I want to become more bold and strong of taking my own decision and living up to it, because I have a habit of asking 10 people first that what should I do, what should I do, what should I do, and then I take my decision. Now, so that in my brain it remains, oh, I consulted these many people, so it's fine to take this decision. But if something goes wrong, I have
Yeah.
to blame all 10 of them, just not me. So my
Yeah.
so my blaming load gets shifted to someone else.
Gets shared.
So gets shared.
Yeah.
So which is so which is in a way is I feel it's something I wanted to change myself. I want to be more more strong enough, because I've done enough in my life. I've seen enough. I've gone through enough, and nothing should stop me from making it. It may be wrong. Maybe I fall on my face, and that time I should be able to be accepting it and blaming myself, and that will make me more stronger.
Are you hopeful for the future?
Oh, absolutely, because that's the only thing which is moving me on right now. Because I have become more connected to my faith and hope. Combining these two together, I'm feeling that I will continue to excel. Uh,
If anybody is in your position or in the position that you have been in the past, so
Yeah.
they're going through a difficult time in their life, being bullied,
yeah.
getting harassed, or not getting what they really want in life, what mindset should they have to deal with that?
Uh, the mindset they should have, Disha, is that they should speak up. What mistake I did was suppressing everything inside, and if something used to go wrong, I used to come and complain to my parents, and my parents used to come and fight on behalf of me. Rather, I should have stood up for myself, because I am an individual. I have my own powers, and I can fight. I can stand for myself. How long someone else would be there? Because that's where my whole world came shattering down when I lost my father. Because that affected me so badly, Tisha, that I almost went in depression. Because my father was the only companion I had as a friend, as a travel partner, as a person to go for shopping, whatever you name it. So it was just my father and myself. So now imagine you are not by yourself, and nobody is permanent in this world. Your parents will go. Today they're there with you, tomorrow they're not going to be there. Your children will also go.
Of course.
Yeah. Your husband and your wife will also go.
True.
Then what will happen? You have to live your own life. So speak up, say something, don't keep it. When you see it, say it. And I think that's the biggest lesson I've learned in my life.
Before we end today, I do ask all my guests to end on a positive note.
Yeah.
So is there a positive message you could leave for me? I'll just capture it here. And then there's a board behind you.
Yeah.
I put all the lovely positive messages there. Do you want to read it out?
You're unique. You are incredible. You are valued. Never underestimate yourself. Work on your strengths and positives so well that your negatives are hidden. You are here to lead a better life, a better and wonderful life. Be humble, caring, and love yourself. Finally, so if you see something or experience something that is not right, say it, speak up. Love.
What a wonderful way to end our discussion today. And I know, Hussein, it's been difficult for you to come here, in the sense you've had to go through a journey of transformation to be able to feel that you can come and tell your story and you can speak to me today. So thank you so much for coming here and sharing your story. I really do appreciate it, and I do wish you all the very best for the future.
Thank you very much, Disha. And I think this has been a very liberating experience for me, because I don't share a lot about my personal and professional life so openly. And I think today I feel more lighter.
I'm so happy to hear this.
Yeah, and I think this has been an incredible evening, a very, very, very well weighted evening. I wish I could have done it before with you, but nevertheless, this is maybe this was destiny. This was a time, and we did that, and I'm very, very grateful to you. And thank you very much, Tisha, for inviting me.
Thank you, Hussein.
Pleasure.
I hope you enjoyed today's episode. And if you have, please like and subscribe to the channel. If you wish to take part, please scan the QR code on the screen. I hope to see you in the next episode, and until then, stay unbroken.